Right, so welcome to the weekend review. So I'll be going over the trades that I did take in this past week. I basically had no intention of taking a trade this week since it was the last week of the month. I did try my best to avoid taking any trades at all. Right, so this was the week for me. It was a win on Monday, a win on Tuesday, and a win on Thursday, right? So this is not really how my months usually are. I would say this is one of the best months of my trading career. I can definitely go ahead and say that because we did take just two losses this entire month. All right. The first one was here on the 13th and the second was on 23rd, right? So definitely not what I expected, but when the setups are given, when the setups are presented, that is what we have, right? There's basically nothing else we can do about it. When we get good setups, we take good trades. When there are no good setups, we can't take any trade at all, right? It's just what it is. So moving on to the session for today, what we need is to break down the trades I've taken, right? So I'm going to break down the Euro USD trade. So there was not really two trades here. It's basically one trade which I held on for the entire weekly range, right? So this was a very good trade. I kind of really liked this position, but it's not really what my usual bread and butter trades are. It is going to be NASDAQ in that case, right? So let's actually begin with the Euro USD trade, right? So we did take a short on Euro USD and there was one position that I managed twice, all right? So on Monday, that was a short and I held it all the way through to Tuesday, right? So let's actually go to Euro USD, which is right here. And we can actually talk about this position, all right? So the first thing is look at this daily time frame, right? So we have a clear defined dealing range and price had returned into a premium of the range, right? Which is going to be the 50% and above. So in this case, it moves to the weekly fair value gap, right? So that is just perfect. Price moves to the weekly fair value gap. It taps it quite perfectly and pushes all the way lower to the objective I outlined. All right. So we reach the objective right about here. And this is really where I closed my trade, right? So there are a couple of ways to take a trade, right? You can actually take a short to this level or you can take a long from this level higher, right? But since I was bearish on Monday, especially after the scandal, that is really why I took the short. So let me go ahead and explain the trade on the lower time frame. So first on the daily time frame, right? This is what I was looking at. You have clear liquidity below, right? Which is right here. So you have equal lows right about here. Let me just close this all the way here. Right. Perfect. So let's just focus on these few days, right? So this was Monday and this is Tuesday, right? So in this case, we took out Friday's high right about here, okay, on Monday. So this is what I was looking at. We had engineered liquidity lower and we have Monday manipulating above Friday's high, right? So if you just want to see this in terms of power of three, that is just going to be great. You have accumulation on Friday, right? This candle right here, you can see it's an inside candle. So that qualifies as an accumulation. Monday is manipulation because you see price take out the manipulation high, right? So you have AM and the last one is going to be distribution, right? Which is going to push price lower in the direction of your higher time frame liquidity pool, right? So in this case, we have equal lows here. So that is really where this candle is going to distribute, right? So this is what the framework was, and it's always the same framework that I focus on, which is just going to be your accumulation, manipulation, and distribution. You can also call it the power of three. That is basically all I use, right? But the way I use it is what makes these trades work out so well. So let's go to the 15-minute time frame because this is really where I took the trade. So here was your Friday's high, right? So let me just close this all the way through here and we will actually move the bar all the way to 12 p.m. here, right? So we're just focusing on Monday's price action, right? So anyone who's observing euro will easily be able to get this trade, right? It is really, really not complicated. This is one of the easier trades that we have received, especially on euro this year, right? I could definitely go ahead and say that. The first is going to be the draw on liquidity, right? So the liquidity is basically everything in these markets. You can't really make any decisions without knowing where price is going, right? So first is that. So we have daily equal lows, right? We have equal lows here, here, and here, of course, right? And that is where price is going to move, right? So if price is going to go lower, what is it going to do first? It's going to move in the opposite direction, all right? Because that is really how your accumulation, manipulation, and distribution is going to form, right? And you can see it really clearly here on the 15-minute time frame here on Euro USD, right? We have clear accumulation during Asia, and we have clear manipulation above Asia's high, and that's just classic price action, and of course distribution that follows through it, right? Which is really, really what we're looking forward to. So this was my trade on Monday, right? So just talking about the first position here. So what I did wait for was manipulation above Asia's high, right? So Asia is based on time, which means these kill zones are based on time. So these levels, or you can call it session highs and lows, they work really, really well, all right? So whenever price wants to move lower, it usually takes out a session's high, a previous day's high, and then moves in the intended direction, right? So in this case, we've taken out Asia's high right about here at 2:30, right? So what do we do after that? We look for a change in state of delivery, right? So it's going to be the series of up close candles, not really the last up close candle, right? So this is a wrong CISD, which is right here. That is not how this works. This is your correct CISD, all right? So price opens right here. I'm sorry, kill zone opens right here, moves higher. That is your manipulation. And price starts moving lower, right? Upon this closure, that is really where you can take a trade, and you can target the nearest liquidity pool, which is going to be Asia's low or this fair value gap right here, or you can target these lows as well, right? But my entry was actually inside this range, right? So what I did was I was on the 1 hour time frame, and there are other things which I did look for, but the major thing you need to know is I was in the 1 hour time frame. I determined that we have accumulated, and at 3 a.m. we are going to distribute, right? So with that in mind, I entered right here. My stop was above your manipulation high right about there, and I just targeted these lows right here, okay, which is exactly right there. Okay, so that ends my first winning day for the week, right, which was on a Monday, right? Now this position, I did close my position here, but I also held this position all the way through to these lows, right, which is your final liquidity objective, which was right here. Okay, so it did play out the next day. It didn't really play out the exact same day, which was my exit was right here at 1 a.m., which was in the London session on the following day, right? Now, this is where, and this is how you actually make money with swing trading. And this is not really a swing trading in my opinion, but this is really how you do it. Let me just show you the position I took, and I did explain that here as well. Okay, so this was what I did with my position, right? So my open risk was 0.4% for this trade, right? That's what I said, which means my entire position for the short, right, which I closed right at this liquidity pool based on the daily time frame, my open risk was just 0.4%, right? I'm not risking more than 3%, 4% in this one trade and trying to make about 30% in a day or two, right? That's really not how your consistent trading works. You need to always manage your risk perfectly, right? So the first position which I closed out was for a win right here at 0.8%. The second position, or the same exact position, at 0.4%, I held it all the way through to the objective, all right? So what I'm saying is, note that I'm not going all in on any of the trades. So that was a total of an 8.7 R times 0.4%, which just led to me making 3.4% on this trade. So everything is live now. Hindsight, that was in the university because I streamed everything live there. So the entire position right here comes up to about 3.4% for Tuesday, right? So this is just one position on Monday, which was a short, and I capitalized it all the way and I split it for 2 days, and the entire position led to me about 3.4% plus 0.8% for this entire move. right? Now, the major move for euro was definitely the long, right? It was all the way from here to these highs, right? I did not take any trades at all, right? Because it did not follow my model, right? My protocol was not taken into consideration here. Asia's high was not taken out. We didn't really get good movement like I want to see. I didn't observe clear daily profiles that I like to see as well, right? So it becomes a bit more muddy and I don't take a trade then, right? Already doing well for the week, which was about 4.2% for the week as of now. So that is just the one trade I took on euro in the past week. So the rest were on NASDAQ. So I did take a long on NASDAQ on Tuesday and once again, I believe on Thursday. So let's just go and have a look at that now. So it's going to be, sorry, NASDAQ is all the way here. All right. Okay, perfect. So I did take another long on another position on NASDAQ and another one was on Thursday, right? So I believe that's on euro again. All right, so just one position on NASDAQ. So let me show you what it was. So that was on a Tuesday. So going to the 5-minute time frame for NASDAQ, and this was kind of the explanation I gave to the members, so don't really bother me there. So right here, okay, so this was the position on NASDAQ. All right, so I have that marked out here. Let me just close it all the way here. So this is the indicator which actually plots exactly what I need. So yeah, basically I'll use basic concepts, which is just going to be your Asia's highs and lows, London's highs and lows, your two-day open, and exactly how these high time frame candles form as well, right? So this was the position on NASDAQ on Tuesday, right? Which is a win. So what did price do and why was I bullish, right? So it's quite simple. Price is below two-day open, so which means we are supposed to be bullish and look for buys, right? And after that, what did price do at 9:30? You can see at 9:30, price expands lower once again, taking out these equal highs, right? So this just signals to me that liquidity has been taken out lower and I should be looking for higher prices, right? So before I look for buys, I can't just take a position right here. I can't just buy right there because I need to wait for confirmation. So in this case, it's going to be, of course, your change in state of delivery, right? So you can see price starts moving lower. See, we have a bullish candle right there at your 10 a.m. open, which is your new 4-hour opening price. We push lower once again. So we do have these last 3 down close candles in this case. And like I mentioned before, CISD is not the last one down close candle, right? Because if it was, and I'm sure I did see a lot of traders make this mistake on Twitter as well. They saw this one closure right here at 10 a.m. and they started buying, right? They started buying right here and expected price to reverse. But like I said, that is the wrong CISD and that is why you failed. So price pushes lower once again. And you can see we have to consider all of these 3 down close candles, right? So you have this opening price. That is your CISD, all right? So that's your perfect CISD. That's exactly what you need to see. And what I wanted to see, of course, so price closed, opened right there. So my entry was right here at the CISD. And I expected price to just move to premium of this range, right? So once price got there, I was out of my position and the entire position did play out to London's high, right? That is really your next draw on liquidity and that is where price got to. But this was my position right here on Tuesday and that ends NASDAQ for the last week of July. All right. So if there's any questions, do let me know in the chat and I'll be happy to answer as well. Okay. So that is my trade on Tuesday. And that ends NASDAQ, right? Now, I did make this post as well on Twitter, but I'm sure you all can understand why. We are inside a monthly fair value gap and we have low resistance all the way here. So price could most likely get there, all right? I'm not saying that this is the low of the month and I expect higher prices. I'm just waiting for more information, all right? Because what I mean to say is if I have to consider a change in state of delivery, it's going to be all of these down close candles, right? So you have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 candles which price needs to invalidate. So I believe that'll be a bit too late for us to even consider a long after, all right? So let's just wait for price to give us more information and then I'll actually get back to you on the higher time frames for NASDAQ, all right? So that concludes Monday and Tuesday. And basically we closed the trade on euro during London on Tuesday and we took a trade on NASDAQ in New York on Tuesday as well, right? So that ends Monday and Tuesday. So let's just go to Thursday before we wrap up the stream. All right, so that is going to be another position on Euro USD, right? So Euro USD is right here, and we can delete that. We don't need it anymore. So let's go to the 15-minute time frame. I usually like the 15-minute time frame for Forex. They actually play out really well. Okay, so this is the position on Euro USD, right? So let me just take the replay button once again and place it right here at 9:30. All right, so basically the exact same thing we like to see, right? So if you're actually watching the stream live, I quite appreciate it. So here's a tip for you all. Burn this into your brain, right? This right here. This is basically what you would like to see from price. Okay, this exact thing right here. And if you followed through everything I've just said, I'm sure you know my exact entry as well, which is going to be CISD, right? That is your CISD right here. That is my entry. That is my long. Price moves higher. Asia's high and the previous day's high. Your exit points, right? Classic price action. It cannot get better than this. We have accumulation on this candle, right? Manipulation during London and distribution that follows right after, right? Could I hold this trade all the way through to Friday? Yes, I could, but that's really not how I operate. I take day trades predominantly. Just once or twice I try to hold a position, quite rare. So usually I'm a day trader, so I like to get in and get out within the same session, ideally. That's basically 95% of my trades are closed within the same session, but sometimes it can play out quite well, all right? But there's no regrets, of course, because I want to get in and get out as frequently as possible and make as much returns as well, right? So basically the same exact thing goes here at 3 a.m. Price pushes lower. We have 3 down close candles, which means that all the 3 down close candles classify as a change in state of delivery. Price closes above it right here, taps it quite beautifully, exactly right there. That's where my entry was, exactly on this candle. And price expands to take out the nearest liquidity pool, right? That is it. Accumulation, manipulation, and distribution. You can see it quite clearly even with this 4-hour time frame as well. All right. So that ends my month of July. All right. So you all have followed through here. I've been trying to show you as much as I can here on YouTube. But if you are interested in joining the live stream sessions, you can definitely look at the link in the description. All right. So let me just answer a few questions before I end the stream. Right. I believe Nith has a question, right? You mentioned July was your best month at 10.7%. Generally, what is your average from your past experience? It's around 3 to 4%, right? Average to the entire year is around 3 to 4%. But usually what I do is I have different prop accounts. So I kind of trade it in a bit more dynamic manner, right? Which is going to be, if I have to pass evals, it's going to be it's going to be a higher risk. And if I have to trade my fundeds, it's usually going to be this exact way I trade, right? Because I'm going to keep my risk lower on the lower end, which is about 0.5% or 1%, lesser than 1% for sure. And I try to maximize on returns on a weekly basis, all right? So they can actually be a bit more higher than usual at times, right? And I believe, Neth, you have been a part of my university, if I'm not mistaken. So do let me know if that is you. And all right, Collins has a question, right? Do you trade gold? No, I don't actively trade gold, Collins. I try to keep it to NASDAQ and Euro USD, right? Those are predominantly my pairs. I've been trading Euro for more than 5 years now, and NASDAQ comes up to about 3 years. So I'm really experienced and quite comfortable with these pairs, all right? So that will be the end of the stream, guys. And thank you all for joining. If there are any questions, do let me know, probably on Twitter. You can DM me there as well. And I will speak to you all once again in the next week. And hopefully we get a good August, right? And August has not really been a good month, a good trading month in the past few years. So I don't really expect much. And my expectations are still low for August, right? So definitely I'm not expecting around these types of returns for August. Definitely not. I'll be quite honest with you. I actually take August off, right? But since I have begun the university, I'm going to make sure to show you all the setups once again and stream it obviously on YouTube as well right after it's done. but definitely don't expect anything close to this in the month of August. Keep your expectations low and actually have a good look at this trade log, right? I've actually gone through most of my trades in this past 3 weeks. So kindly do watch the live stream sessions as well. It is for your own benefit. All right. So, okay, just another question before I end the stream, right? Do you think price action is bad this summer? Doldrums. All right, I'm not sure what that means. It will be better by September. Yeah, definitely. So September, October, and November are the money making months for us day traders, especially the ones who trade NASDAQ and Euro, which literally is me. So those are the months I like to trade really well. And December is going to be a down month again. So just to clarify that, if you've studied ICT as well, you would probably know this. The month of August and the month of December are the worst months to trade. All right. They're literally statistically the worst months to trade because price rarely moves at all. All right. So anyways, do go ahead and back test it yourself, right? And this is kind of an exercise for you if you're watching the stream. Before the month of August begins, go back to the month of August in 2025 and 2024, see how price action was, and you kind of get a good idea as to what to expect as well. All right. So thank you all for joining, guys, once again, and I will speak to you all once again in the next week. All right. So take care and stay safe.